mute button. Oh, I hit the camera button and the mute button. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alvin King, host of He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. Welcome to our Friday, October the 25th live episode, ladies and gentlemen. How is everyone doing out there? Hopefully, you have had a great week. I was just telling our panel and talking backstage, it was a beautiful day, but I have had like a crazy week. And you know, I gotta tell y'all, sometimes it's the small things that can get on your nerves. And this may be TMI for some of you. How you doing, Rose? Welcome to the show tonight. But I'm telling you, you never know when you need something. And this week, my microwave went out. Do you know how important a microwave is? And you may not know until you don't have it. But I'm telling you, I depend on my microwave so much, and I'm not going to stay on that. But my microwave went out, and that just told me this was a hellified week. But welcome to our show. I'm happy to be with you all tonight. My microwave is sitting over there somewhere, and it's going to be put in. Again, hope you guys have had a great week. This week has been really crazy, and things have just been popping off. And one of the things that I want to talk about right now is last night, I don't know if some of you got an opportunity to see the interview with Charlemagne the God last night with CNN's host, was Anderson Cooper. Charlemagne, if you all don't know who he is, real name, Leonard Larry McKelvey, again, known professionally as Charlemagne the God. He is a radio host on The Breakfast Club, a television personality, and a comedian. And last night, he and Anderson Cooper were having a conversation, and he basically brought up what has been a problem for me, and that's how the media is just with this double standard giving Donald Trump a pass on some of his rhetoric. And Charlemagne, what he did, he called Donald Trump a fascist and said that he makes fascist statements, and his tendencies and the double standards that he seems to have, they don't seem to apply to Vice President Harris. And Anderson Cooper tried to, backpedal that, they kind of, talk about things fairly, but Charlemagne the God said, no, you don't. Now, Charlemagne the God, for those of you who follow him, he has some double standards himself. Hopefully you all have seen the interview that he had with Vice President Harris. But anyway, last night, he went on to say that to Anderson Cooper, I think that Americans need to keep looking at the rhetoric of Donald Trump, because I don't know why we're even thinking about electing somebody who's talking about putting people in camps. I don't know why we're talking about why we want to elect someone who's talking about mass deportation. I don't know why we're having this conversation about somebody who wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of the election. Aren't we supposed to be a patriotic country? Whenever somebody like Colin Kaepernick takes a knee in the country, everybody talks about, oh, that's so unpatriotic. But this guy can say what he wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election, and nobody seems to care or talk about it. You got to see that interview, pull it up, because again, I thought that Charlemagne the God was on point last night for what he was saying to Anderson Cooper and the media at large, who just seems to give Donald Trump a pass. Also in the news is Elon Musk. The former DJ officials urged an investigation into his $1 million voter lottery. But the twist here is that a group of Republican lawyers and officials are urging the federal investigation into his America PAC for allegedly violating these election laws. And in a letter addressed to Attorney General Merrick Garland and Pennsylvania Attorney General Michelle Henry, former Justice Department officials argue that Musk's initiative to pay voters in swing states to sign a petition supporting the First and Second Amendment may constitute illegal activity under federal statutes that prohibit paying individuals to register to vote. We all know that Elon Musk is crooked, so it is no secret there. But I hope whatever they can do to shut him down and, keep him or the GOP from, creating another or something else illegal, I think they should definitely go ahead and do it. But it's just crazy that all this is in the news and taking place, and sometimes we can't even stop it. Here in DC, I wanted to bring something to you all attention because I thought this is just ludicrous, being that we're in this place where we're trying to manage our money and talking about how much the economy is impacting us. There has been an increase in recent robberies targeting young people wearing expensive designer sneakers here in Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. has been putting out alerts to let everybody know that there's been a rise in these thefts. And the new crime alert alleges that these children who are getting their sneakers stolen from them are wearing $600 to $1,200 tennis shoes. Now, I work every day, and I don't have a pair of Balenciaga or Louis Vuitton or Dior or, Lanvin tennis shoes. And as Bobby said to me the other day, we're good with our Nikes, okay? But this is crazy that these parents, if it is parents doing that, buying your kids these sneakers that are so expensive, and they're actually getting stolen off of them. So, that is going on here. Please, to all you parents, think before you buy, because it's crazy out here. Okay, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We've been saying that all month. And for those of you who know the importance of getting checked for breast cancer or for cancer for any type of cancer, it is important that you do that. It is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And, we want to make sure that we promote that and let you know that domestic violence is not tolerated. And also today is National I Care About You Day. And if those of you who don't know it, I care about you. So thank you for being on our show tonight. And speaking of our show tonight, we have two amazing guests here. We thought that being in this election season, that there are some things that we need to talk about, and immigration and healthcare are two of them. And we have two amazing people. Allen Orr is here today, and Dana McGuire is here with us today also. And we're going to have that conversation with both of them. We cannot wait. And we know that you're going to take something away from this conversation that will be of importance to you. So if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat.
Hey.
Hey, Bobby.
I care about you too.
I care about you too.
I also want to just take a very quick moment to also say happy birthday to a recent guest of ours. It's his birthday as well, and that's our friend Maurice Scott. So we
yes. Happy birthday, Maurice. Wherever you are, you should be here. Listen to us. Hey, Kendall. Hey, Wayne. How you doing? Wayne said, wait a minute, there he is.
I care about you all. Thanks,
Happy birthday, Maurice. Thank you for being here tonight. And I apologize because I don't know what is going on with my screen, but if you all are in the chat, I said, there you are. I had to refresh. There you go. How you doing, Michi? Thank you all for joining us today. Bobby, but have you had a good week?
I had a little bit of a challenging week, but it's all good. It's all good. We get through it, and we pray and we get through it. So I'm good. How about you?
It's been a hellified week, but if this is any consolation, you're still cute. You do wear it well. Okay. We got to keep each other lifted.
It's a pretty show tonight.
So what's been in the chat for you? What is happening this week?
Well, I just want you to know that, and we have had this conversation, and I think this is a cultural thing as well. We often say that, you just can't eat out of everybody's kitchen. But I don't know if you guys heard about this story that came out of Jessup, Maryland. It's the NAFCO, NAFCO Wholesale Seafood Distributors in Jessup, Maryland. They say that Monday's mass food poisoning incident, and they had a mass food poisoning incident of 46 people seeking medical attention, was caused by a homemade dish prepared by an employee.
What?
46 people, okay? It says that the instant investigation, was primarily determined that an employee prepared food at his home over the weekend, ultimately serving the homemade food to fellow employees who became sick. 46 people. Nearly 50 workers displayed symptoms of food poisoning within hours of having the meal.
See,
What are your thoughts about
well, I work in the office, and so potlucks aren't my thing per se, and my excuse now is that I'm losing weight. So, they can see it. So I'm not eating your food. So don't, we're not doing that. And so but I'm not, if I don't know you, and even people I know, if I'm cooking at my house, let me cook.
Yeah. Well, I think we just have to be careful about what we ingest. That we are also watching the news and hearing that there's this huge outbreak of E. coli with the onions on the quarter pounder at McDonald's either.
Yes, and we know how many of you like McDonald's. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, thing. It's the name luck, as Michelle is pointing out. Yeah.
Hey, Michelle. Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, I heard that story, and I just thought I would never do that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But they probably trusted him and thought that and they probably trusted him and didn't think that could happen.
Well, nobody thinks they're going to get food poisoning from the office potluck, but it just raises the question again: cleanliness, conditions in terms of cooking and so forth. And bottom line is, you just can't eat everyone's cooking.
You can't just eat everyone's cooking.
There you go. Food, home cooking is not just the only issue. I know that you've got something coming up about a local restaurant that.
Yes, Bobby. Well, let me tell you, if you are a native Washingtonian, there are two things that you don't do. You don't criticize go-go music, okay? And you don't talk about the late Marion Barry, all right? You just do not talk about the late Marion Barry. And this week, a local pizza chain promoted a new menu, and they called the menu Marion Berry Knots, a dessert with Marion berries. The dish is so good, they say, it's likely a felony. According to a press release. For a good time, it's the powder that the ultimate headline grabber. The Marion Berry Knots have enough powdered sugar that will have customers bumping elbows. Okay, bumping elbows to order, and even force the DEA to look twice. Now, for those of you who don't know who Marion Barry is, he was a civil rights activist and revered here in Washington, D.C. He was a 4-term mayor, and he was also, caught up in a couple of scandals. He was arrested in a local hotel in a videotaped drug sting by the FBI. That being said, he is still revered, okay, by those of us who live here. But Z Pizza, or this pizza chain, found out that DC is not having it.
And they're local. I mean, they are DC people. They should know better.
They should know better. They should know. And, my heart kind of went out to, is it Cora Berry, his wife?
Yes, it's his,
yeah. She, I just thought it was in such bad taste that they did that. And, but on the other hand, if their business was failing, they got publicity, but they also got their building painted and protesters outside. So
yeah, I don't think it's the publicity they wanted.
You don't think so? They're talking about boycotting this place, but I thought that was in bad taste. So that was kind of crazy this week.
Very bad taste. I mean, people that don't know this area don't know that he is known as the mayor for life. Like, he's been deceased and all that, but many of us, and I know, Alvin, I safely feel I can speak for you as well. For many of us, our first jobs were the result of a program, a summer employment program under the Barry administration that got so many kids
exactly
during the summer. So
exactly, that is true. Yeah, don't play with Marion Barry. May he rest in peace. And next month will be 10 years since his passing, since he died.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Time flies. Yeah, it does. So your homecoming was last week, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay. You have a
Yeah,
good time?
I had a very good time. I had a
Okay.
very, very good time. I had a limited amount of time because I had to work during the day Saturday, but I went down to the yard. As you guys remember, last week we talked about the fact that it was Howard University's 100th homecoming.
Mhm.
And I got to go and hang out on the yard with my friends. And I missed all of Friday's events, but Saturday went to a couple of parties. And yeah, it was really, really, really nice. I'm still recuperating.
Well, we're glad to have you back. Yes, we are.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
So I also want to, as we talk about coming back,
mhm.
I want to mention the college admissions scandal mastermind, Rick Singer, who some of you might remember the Operation Varsity Blues. He has just finished serving 16 months in federal prison and has the audacity to now be taking clients as he stays in a halfway house. Now, you might remember he was the one who actually orchestrated this 2019 college scandal where, people were facilitating bribes from people's parents, such as Lori Lofton, Felicity Huffman. He facilitated these bribes between parents and universities in exchange for their children's enrollment and pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud and 1 count of honest services wire and mail fraud. And as I said, he served 16 months in a federal prison, and he is now out and serving clients, right? And he has stepped right back into the place of privilege that he was in, and people of privilege utilizing his services in a way. It was just offensive to me. And I remember sending the story to Alvin immediately, going like, this is a perfect example in America of both white privilege and just arrogance.
Well, but just like with Trump, people support him because, as you said, he's getting calls.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking clients. So somebody, you know what I'm saying? So somebody's buying into it, and he's getting clients. So he can be as crooked, and I'm not advocating for him, but he can be as crooked as he wants. People are actually calling him. So what does that say about them?
Well, it just is the reality that privilege believes that it operates under a different set of rules.
Yeah.
And if they have the resources to get what they want, then that should be sufficient. So it was just very frustrating that, and when he was interviewed and asked, well, do you feel that you did anything wrong? His response was no, I just did what I was able to do, and people had the resources, and there's no sense of remorse whatsoever. He does not feel that he did anything wrong.
That's truly a news flash for me. I'm telling you. So I expected that. Well, to close out our chat, Bobby, you and I talked about, we had to say something about this. The man with the Beijing, Rudy Giuliani, he must turn over his memorabilia and other prized possessions to 2 Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Wandrea Shea Moss. He must turn over his possessions, and his apartment he has to turn over, and 2 dozen luxury watches and a 1980 Mercedes.
Vintage.
Once owned by Lauren Bacall. And for those of you who know, what do you call it?
Old Hollywood.
Old Hollywood. Exactly. But I thought this was a feel-good story in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because they already won the $140 million judgment. But this is like icing for the cake.
And it's karma. He made their lives hell.
Yeah. Sell that dang gone. Oh, it almost made me curse. Sell that Mercedes. Okay. Give it. What is that auction really?
Christie's.
High profile Christie. Give it to them. Let them sell it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Those ladies have the keys to that property up in New York. I understand they're trying to get the keys to some property down in Florida.
Baby, all I would say is you better have it, whatever, washed, or I'm sure there are cameras in there, you saged and all of that, because it needs to go. But look, we got an action-packed story, Bobby, tonight. Like we said, with the election coming up, we thought that we would bring have 2 subject matter experts to talk about 2 very important topics that we hear a lot of, but do we really know what's going on? Absolutely. And that is immigration and healthcare. And so tonight, we're going to bring on our first guest. If you're ready, Bobby, I'm ready to bring him on.
Let's bring him on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Allen Orr is the founder of the Washington, D.C.-based Orr Immigration Law Firm, PC, a minority-owned law firm right here in D.C. His practice is focused on U.S. immigration, compliance for U.S. corporations, including visa applications for immigrants and non-immigrants. In addition to serving on the chairing several national and local committees, he has written numerous articles and regularly speaks at immigration conferences. He is listed in the International Who's Who of Corporate Immigration Lawyers and the International Who's Who of Business Lawyers. He is the Immigration Section Chair for the National Bar Association and the National President of the National Board of Directors for American Immigration Lawyers Association. He is the first Black president of AILA in its 75-year history.
Yes.
Allen received his BA in philosophy from Morehouse and a JD from Howard University of Law. He's an active member of the DC, Virginia, and National Bar Association, and he's appeared in British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, MSNBC, Fox News, and is a frequent national and international speaker on U.S. immigration and policy. But we have him here tonight, right here on He Said. Please welcome Allen Orr.
Hello, happy to be here.
Hey, Allen. Thank you for being with us tonight.
No problem.
Thank you for adjusting your schedule to be
No
here.
problem.
Thank you. Love you much, man. Hey, look, we're going to jump right off because immigration is one of those topics that for me, I didn't hear about it, or I knew the word immigration, but all of a sudden in 2015 and 16, it became like this explosion, and it became the hottest topic in politics. So, Allen, how did we get here to where we are today with the immigration crisis?
So I think we have to go back before that a little bit, just so that we can frame it in the appropriate way. And as we frame this, let's have a little education within the legal parameters that immigration is relegated to Congress. So therefore, anything and any problems with regard to immigration, who's able to change immigration, it's always a congressional issue because Congress changes and writes the laws that enact immigration, and immigration is only at a federal level. So talking about anyone else doing immigration is inappropriate as far as making law and policy that will last. The president is charged with enforcing immigration based on the budget given to him by Congress. And so what happened is we had a President Reagan who did something on immigration, and it really was sort of a punishment thing, not the smartest thing ever, created these draconian laws. And then from Reagan until we got to the first term of Bush, there were no immigration reform. So Congress took no action on immigration, and therefore immigration became a problem because there were no changes in the laws to meet the current concerns and needs of the United States that were sort of happening at that time. So when President Trump had his first chance to run, he came down an escalator and said, these immigrants are creating all of this crime. And as we know, it's a Southern strategy. In order to win, you need to create an enemy, blame everything on that enemy, and then say you will solve for that enemy. So that's what he did. And that's how he won his first election, on the back of saying he was going to solve immigration. Within his first 2 years in office, he had the House, he had the Senate, and he all had the presidency. They could have made an immigration bill, and they did not. So they let it just slide through. They made no changes, no implementations. They could have ended asylum if they wanted to. They could have done anything they wanted to do to sort of change the way we handle immigration in this country. They did not do that. There's a concept that under the Trump administration, immigration was handled. That is the wrong concept to think of. Under the Trump administration, immigration was awful, and COVID happened, and a lot of Americans died, and he used a draconian law to close the border down, which kept some of the preventions of having the number of immigrants that we had come to the country. But what it did was cause the backlog that once that law was removed, individuals were able to sort of come back into the United States once again. So the concept of immigration being out of control and the southern border being out of control is a fiction that has been written. Yeah, we hear about it every day, and it's a concern, and it's on our mindset. But canvas number of immigrants have been coming to the border for years. We are able to process thousands of immigrants at every airport in the United States. If we wanted to process immigrants at the southern border, we would. And the reason why we don't have the resources at the southern border that we have at our airports is one, because of class, one, because of choice, and one, because of the type of immigrants that we have a preference for. So in the United States, the demographics have been changing. and they were moving in a very Latin swing for a very long time, right? And then during COVID, when they shut down immigration, Caucasian immigration, which is the only way to sort of say it, was then supplemented by European immigration once again. And the only reason that the Caucasian race maintains its number in population right now over the Hispanic is because of immigration. And that group of individuals that came in from Europe or all these different countries that are Caucasian, no one sees them as the same type of immigrants that we see from the southern border. So that's sort of the context of just as we think about this, that we realize that part of what we need to have a conceptual is that someone's created a boogeyman and someone's created a fiction, and it's all about numbers. Because when you control the southern border, you're keeping out Black and brown immigrants or socioeconomically disadvantaged immigrants, while you're still allowing people from Europe to come in and even people from China to come in, because you're not ending asylum for everybody. You just want to end asylum for the people who come across the southern border.
Lord, 101 class. Yes.
Thank you. And look, I'm sitting here taking notes because thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for putting, or actually honing us in and,
Yes.
and giving us the reality of what's really going on. So
Yes.
thank you.
Context is always important. So we thank you for that. And we know that, as you said, from the time of the escalator ride, there has been a concerted effort to create this them versus us, dehumanization of people. And as you said, and dehumanizing certain immigrants and uplifting others. So you kind of spoke to the positive impact on white America in terms of European and Caucasian immigration. Talk to us about the issues of immigration and how they impact Black America.
So let's think about who Black America is today. So 1 in 10 Black people in this country are either an immigrant, a child of an immigrant, or they are married to an immigrant. So that's the dynamic that we sort of had before. So one of the things that has always been useful in the Black community is to try to divide the diaspora, to make us within Black communities see ourselves as other, whether we're from the North or the South, whether we put sugar in our grits or we put salt on our grits, these divides that don't need to happen. And so one of the things that this presidential campaign did really well is they came in and they said, it is the Black immigrants or those immigrants coming in taking Black jobs, right? So they said that there are this relegated lump of Black jobs that exist that were being taken from us by other immigrants and sometimes Black immigrants. And so what that did was it created this concept of a foundational Black, which I don't really know what that means, because it just means that your parents were immigrants before there were immigration laws. They came over as slaves, but they're still from another country. Mm-hmm. And then this sort of right to be Black in the country that is different than everyone else. So realize that the concept of a foundational Black is something that's dying out, right? There are not going to be so many foundational Blacks for a certain period of time because of the aging. You're going to either have married an immigrant or they're going to die out at some point. That number is going to, the link to slavery necessarily at some point, because the population growth is not going to remain the same if our trajectory remains the same. Mm-hmm. So for political power, it is important. And for the diaspora of Black people around the world, it is important that Black people don't see themselves as just United States citizens, just foundational Blacks. We need to see ourselves as a global majority. And then we have a greater concept of what the world looks like and what our political power can be. And if these other groups are letting immigrants come in to get political power, right, we need to make sure that we're also getting Black immigrants to continue our numbers towards political power within our diaspora as well. So that's number one. Foundationally, that's number one. Number two, when you look at Black immigrants in this country and just who they have been, right, presidents, vice presidents, political figures, right, activists, educators, for the betterment of Black people in general, right? So this concept of saying they are different than us because they come from Jamaica, or they're from Haiti, or they're from Trinidad, is a very useful tool to sort of say they're othering you or they're taking something from you. Mm-hmm. When we think about this job concept, which I think is super important, is there is no lump of jobs. The concept that there's a lump of jobs is a fiction to create a sum zero world. As we all know, as technology changes, jobs change. There are more jobs, there are less jobs. In these immigrant communities, you see where immigrants build their own communities around themselves. They start their own banks, they have their own grocery stores, they have their own CAP systems, these smaller ecosystems. You create and modify jobs all the time. So the concept that there's a job out there that someone is taking from you is the sum zero game. And what they're really trying to say to you is the jobs at the bottom of the scale, whatever those jobs may be, belong to you. Yes. And therefore, there's another group coming in to take those jobs away from you. And so the question should be, so why are those jobs my job, right? And that's what creates this friction of, I've got to get this from them, and the concept of getting that. The other thing that we found from the diaspora, Black immigrants specifically, when you don't grow up in the mindset of racism and you don't have the concept of necessarily working for someone, there are a lot of Black immigrants that are just naturally entrepreneurs because their concept of their own, they don't have a concept of working for someone. Their concept is building something of their own, when our educational system in the United States has taken us through a system that says you need to work for someone, not create something for yourself. And those are just the dynamics that are spread out in numbers. But in addition to those concepts alone, if you think the Nigerian who has a doctorate degree in science is taking your job when you don't have a degree at all, then we need to have a conversation about that. It's about honing your skills to be prepared for those jobs, whatever they may be in the future. And that's regardless of if it's the African immigrant or the Indian immigrant. If you haven't studied coding and all these jobs are coding, they're not taking your jobs because you weren't qualified for those jobs. And if you want those jobs, then you should get the skill set to take those jobs.
Come on. Come on.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have your pens out because we're going to run this show again. I already know because
exactly.
I need to spend some time with Allen. So, Allen, let me cut to the chase. What is hearing what you just said, what is the challenge for Black Americans?
So there's a couple of challenges. So just like racism exists in all perspectives, even in the immigration world. So we're deported at a higher rate. We're imprisoned at a higher rate. As a matter of fact, all the cases that you saw in court cases where there was child separation, the first two child separation cases were Black immigrants. The women who were having their ovaries cut out, those were Black immigrants. So all of those things, those crimes sort of happen in a Black world that we shouldn't see ourselves as separate from that. This other concept is the vetting concept. So this concept that people show up at the border and they just come in, well, it's a fiction, right? Everybody who comes to the United States with a visa is vetted. And sometimes that vet takes about 18 months to get here. So no one's just walking up and no one's a prison in the system of the concept that Trump is saying they're just emptying the worst people here. I don't even understand what that means, right? Because in that same concept, we talked about Elon Musk, immigrant, the starter of Apple, immigrant, starter of 15,000 companies, all immigrants. So the first lady, right, Melania Trump, immigrant, right? So this concept that they're all the worst is weird to me. And the concept that they're lazy, but they're doing all of these jobs is also inconsistent. And one of the things that we've realized from the numbers is the only way we made it through COVID is because of those essential worker immigrants who were doing those jobs that we didn't do or couldn't do, and were putting food on the table and making things happen. So when you want to remove those immigrants from the system, it's going to cause an increase in prices. But most importantly, as we talk about immigrants who have been here undocumented, many of them have been here for 20 years or more. And I wish that there was a concept, just like in regular law, there's a statute of limitations. If you don't do something to me in this time frame, then you don't have a charge. So if you know that immigrants are here, they've been paying local taxes all this time. So they're not paying federal taxes, but they're paying local taxes. They have cars and apartments and their kids in school. They're buying stuff from the bakery. They're buying stuff from the grocery store. They're getting their car fixed at your shop. They're coming by the soul food restaurant. They're going to the church with you, right? All those things are in our community, and you did nothing to remove them. Why is it 20 years later that now all of a sudden that you feel something's being taken from you, that you now want to remove them from there? That is exactly against everything that many people celebrate in the Christopher Columbus world of saying they discovered whatever they're in, right? They discovered those things. So there's sort of a problem with that. Sure, there needs to be a system for them. Exactly. They should have to pay a fine. It should take them some time to become citizens. And just so when we think about that, how long does it take to become a citizen? If I marry a U.S. citizen today and I'm an immigrant, I'm going to have a green card for at least 2 years before I can apply for citizenship. And then it's going to probably take another 2 years for me to get citizenship to vote. If I don't marry a U.S. citizen, I have a job. Look, better yet, I go to school here. You can't get any Pell Grant, you have to pay out of pocket. I go to school here. I pay $50,000 a year. I get a degree here. I happen to get a job here, right? Can't vote, don't have any say in anything, paying taxes just like everyone else, right? Then I get a green card, right? Once I get that green card, I have to have that green card for 5 years before I can become a U.S. citizen to vote. So many of these people are disadvantaged from being in the toughest political system, being able to vote. So it takes them some time to get there. So there is no immigrant who's popping up and getting all these things. And this concept that people have in their head that the immigrant shows up at the border on Tuesday, gets a loan on Wednesday, buys a house on Thursday, and takes your job on Friday and Saturday is just a fiction that just does not exist. You show me who are those individuals.
Right.
Oh,
wow.
Lord. Brother is taking us to
wow.
school.
Wow. Wow. All right.
ask a question then. I want to, because I know our segment is limited here, but I want to ask a question. Sure. You talked about wishes and so forth. We are now about to elect a new president. Mm-hmm. If you could grant a wish for 2 actions to take place by the next president concerning immigration, what would they be?
The first one would be to modernize the system so it meets what the economy is, right? So people who are working here undocumented are working for companies. And if we're saying it's bad, then lock up all of those companies, right? All those meat packing companies, all those people, all those directors should be in jail, including Trump. He had many of them working his golf courses. So if it's illegal to be here, who's benefiting from that? The companies that lock them up. So if we're going to have them here and have them work and do things for us, then let's give them a way to be in the system in some kind of status. That's
and hold the people accountable who are taking advantage of
exactly. Number 2 is that we don't think of individuals as things. We don't demonize people or say because one person was in a DUI and everybody's a DUI, or because one person is a criminal and everybody else is a criminal. And what I want to say to Black people is the same way they talked about those Haitians in Springfield are the exact same way they talked about Black people in Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee. Coming to neighborhoods, eating stuff, taking stuff, stealing stuff. That's the exact same tone that they made to demonize people. And they also used that against individuals of Chinese nationality when they did the Exclusion Acts before. So it's a trope that they're selling you to make you think somebody is other and different. I ask people, especially people in the Christian faith, do to immigrants what you would do at your church. If they come in and they believe the same faith you are and the same Bible you have, and they want to work for the same things you have, spread out the table and let them work with you to build, because there is plenty of room in the United States. The concept that we have too many immigrants or that we're overflowing with immigrants is just a silly concept. There are at least 300,000 people here. We accept a million immigrants a year generally. So we need to revise that number up because we need to have more than that. And 2, we need to capture the 20 million people that are already here so we can change the system. So I hope that President Harris sees that. And the concept, just like with Black people in crime, the only way to solve the system is not to lock people up, because when we lock people up, who makes money, right? In an article, it came out yesterday that Greg Abbott spent $2 billion on his little immigration Lone Star program. Do you know who got that $2 billion? All of those rich individuals who are detaining in all those companies. It is a system. It is a scheme. It is a scam.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm telling you all, I know I could talk to Allen all day long, okay? Because you came here to do what we wanted you to do, and that is to educate us and provide a resource for those of you who didn't know what you thought you knew about immigration. So, Allen, I want to thank you for being here and putting us on your schedule, because, ladies and gentlemen, he's in a hotel room and he came to us tonight. So thank you.
He's a Morehouse grad, and it's big. It's a big homecoming weekend for them. So he is giving his time. Yes.
We definitely have time and space for anyone who wants to talk about immigration and Black immigrants, because I think demonizing people, specifically demonizing Black people, is not the path forward.
Well, thank you, Allen. Look, take care. Be safe out there. And we look forward to you coming back. Have a great time in Atlanta, my friend.
Thanks, Allen. Love you, man.
Thank you.
Guys, have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have another special guest who's coming on, but before we do that, I think we're going to have a bit of a break. We're going to have a PSA from the NNPA. So you all stand by. Don't go anywhere. That was great, Bobby.
It was really good.
Hi, this is Ziggy Marley, and I'm very happy and privileged and humbled to receive the Black Press of America Global Icon Award. I've received many awards throughout my life, but this one feels very special to me. So I want to say I really appreciate it. Music is a powerful tool. Human beings are powerful beings. We can achieve whatever we wish to achieve if we are willing to do what it takes to achieve it, standing up or kneeling down. So again, I want to say thank you to all of you, and much love and blessings. I want to dedicate this award to my father and my mother, Rastafari.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, our next guest, her name is Dana McGuire. She is a leader in healthcare operations and reform. She is frequently called on as a technical consultant by operational teams for major hospital health systems. Her cross-national work explores market reforms, state policies, including regulation and mandated insurance benefits and insurance expansion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, she's so dear to my heart, our special guest, Dana McGuire.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Let me move to the middle here. There we go.
How you doing, my sweet? Welcome to our panel tonight. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How about you guys?
We are doing good. We're so glad that you're here, Dana, because as you've heard, we wanted to make sure that we talked about immigration and also healthcare, particularly, Medicaid, and Medicare, because that's really huge. So I want to, again, welcome you and kick off our first question, Dana, to you. Can you tell our folks what is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? Okay.
So I would say this, that Medicare is specifically for, our aging community over 65. Medicaid, it actually provides coverage for all different types of illnesses and populations, depending on what is happening with you personally. And that Medicaid is actually just a universal type of coverage. But Medicare is definitely specifically for our elder community. And if we were to speak about the Biden and Harris administration, they were trying to get that number projected to 60 instead of 65. So those are one of the advances that administration wanted to do in regards to Medicare reform.
Thank you very much. Thank you, because I'm of that age, and I tell you, it's been a little confusing, but thank you for laying it out there. Thank you, Bobby.
So, as we've said earlier tonight, that immigration and healthcare are two very big issues in this upcoming election. Health decisions and health rights and all of those things. Can you summarize for us, from your perspective, the potential impact on healthcare, given the two that we have in this election?
Absolutely. So the one thing that comes to mind is the Affordable Care Act, and everybody's familiar with that. That's, Obamacare, obviously. And it's very important that you understand what's taking place at this point. The constituents are very important, especially southern states, in Texas and Florida, where the enrollment has increased exponentially. In Texas, enrollment has increased by 210%, and in Florida, it's increased by 120%. And so when we look at both candidates and their projected mandates or actions for and against affordable care, it looks like Trump may pause on his original stance on just discombobulating the whole system in and of itself because of his southern constituents. In regards to Kamala, it looks like she's going to continue the mandates set by the Biden administration. And they were wonderful mandates, right? It allowed folks for certain incomes up to 176,000 per year to receive Obamacare, and that is up to 4 people in a household. And you never had, costly or ineffective costs for prescription costs before, or just regular premiums. You've never had that before prior to that. The problem is that it will resolve or dissolve actually at the end of 2025 if the subsidies are not extended. And it is very important that the American people understand that. So we have to have leadership in place to continue that. And that would leave out 3.8 million at the current total of Americans not being able to receive coverage at the beginning of January 2026. So it's very important that we understand why we need leadership to continue the Affordable Care Act.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you. So let me so based on what you just said, Dana, and this is how I understood what you just said. My next question is looking at these two candidates that are running for office, how, as far as their stance was concerned in previous years, how will that benefit us in the future should one of them become the president of the United States?
Right. So when it comes to health care, let's look at prescription costs. I have a fly in here. Sorry about that. It's my friend at this point.
I can't say what they
You saw what happened at that debate where that fly landed on. We don't want that.
Right. It's not season, guys. But let's look at drug costs. So drug costs is very important at this point. You know, you heard Kamala on her CNN town hall, and I don't know if everyone saw that. She mentioned what the Biden and Harris administration did for drug costs, which they put a cap, I believe it was a $26 or $36 cap on insulin prescription drugs and a $2,000 cap on drugs annually. Now, what does that mean to the American public? That our aging community, that they don't have the income that we would possibly have, that we work every day, we have benefits, we make a certain amount and we can budget. We look at them and we look at their income. I know some of our elderly community or aging community, they don't like for me to say elderly, so I'll keep saying aging. Lord help us. But I would say that they cap at a monthly income of $3,000. So if you put that in perspective of drug costs, look at what type of healthcare or what type of prescriptions they can get. Now, normally you have the generic and then you have the ungeneric, right? Not so generic. But here's the deal with the generic. There's a lot of fillers added in those prescriptions. So you're not getting the full dosage of the actual prescription. So let's say if you're treating something like cancer or diabetes or heart failure, you're not getting the right drugs to help you live a longer life. So putting a cap on annual drug prescriptions is very helpful for our aging community, and it will definitely extend their lives exponentially as they go on until their full transition. Now, I haven't heard too much in regards to what Trump wanted to do in regards to prescription costs.
He's still figuring it out.
But he
what did he say? He had a proposal. What was it?
He said that he's a concept. He has a concept.
That's
right.
He has a concept. So he says a concept. So you're good. Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, if he has a concept, I would love to know that concept because at the end of the day, having a cap from the Kamala and Biden administration of $2,000 annually, I know that I have glaucoma. I'm not going blind. No one worry, no boohoo for me. But my prescription costs me, my eye drops cost me $146 per month. Now I have a full-time job, obviously, but can you imagine our aging community having multiple drugs that they have to take, like diabetes, high blood pressure, and anything else? That is going to cap $2,000 in a month. And where are they going to find that?
Get that money from.
So
Dana you just said it. As far you just said it. If you're concerned about healthcare, right, you might want to lean toward voting blue because the other party doesn't have a plan at all, at least you know where you're going and what you're getting. That's what I hear you saying.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. That's
now, like you said, we're still waiting on Trump to give us, what his agenda. And like I said, I would really be interested in hearing that, because when I look at my grandmother and any other member of my family, I literally go to the drugstore for them and I'm like, how are you affording this? How are you affording this? And thank God insulin has been capped at 35. I think it's 35 or 27.
Yeah.
So those are the most important things. But also let's look at hospitals. Now, what we don't realize is that we need to take care of what subsidies are the beneficiaries of keeping the hospital online, active, and serving our community and every community. The Affordable Care Act really helps hospitals take care of folks who aren't insured. And that is very important. I know some of us back in the day, if you were to think, hey, when was I laid off and I couldn't afford the extended care? That was COBRA, right? That was extremely expensive. I remember when I might have been laid off. I was only laid off one time, so don't judge me. But when I was laid off, they said that COBRA would cost me over $900 a month.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to afford this? This is why us extending the subsidies of the Affordable Care Act are very important. So we need to have the right people in place in the Senate, in Congress, in the White House to make sure that those subsidies that will expire the end of 2025 are extended. It is very important.
Thank you. Wow. Okay.
Jana, can we talk a little bit about Social Security?
Absolutely.
And what changes we might anticipate that aren't necessarily obvious, like things that we need to be concerned about that people are not thinking about?
Well, we're dealing with inflation, right? I mean, we all know that the price of everything has gone up. I mean, the price of bread has turned into from $2 to $25 if you shop at the bougie gourmet stores, which I have decided not to do that anymore. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Social Security, that will actually be changing. The installment, the SSI payments will be reducing to 2.5. Now, what does that mean to you? That's an average of $50 per payment to our beneficiaries. So they're averaging and they're balancing the cost of the payments to the beneficiaries of Social Security based on inflation. So that's a big thing that's actually happened in Social Security. Another huge thing happening is the tax on income. So over 100, if you're under 175 or 176,000, you will be taxed for Social Security. Anything above that, they are going to change how they proceed on that. So that is very important for folks to understand. So when we look at making more money or making less money, understanding that those taxes that are taken out of your check every 2 weeks, they will be affected by those SSI installment payments.
Wow.
Dana, can you take a few minutes? I know we're running short on time, but can you somehow briefly tell us how might the election impact healthcare stocks for those of us who are into stocks?
Absolutely. So the big thing now is the weight loss drugs, right? Everyone is, getting on the diabetic drugs that are now influencing weight loss. A lot of folks don't understand that those weight loss drugs have been not necessarily subsidized, but just think about it. Somebody with like diabetes, they've been taking this drug for years. They've never lost this amount of weight. So understand that drug companies have been changing drugs. How does that affect the stock market? Well, it benefits them and it doesn't benefit you, because a lot of the companies that are active and live, they are now charging more for the drugs. So as soon as their stock goes up, that's when the price of the drugs go up, because they're benefiting on the popularity of those drugs. And so you hear a lot of times people are getting drugs from, Cuba or Mexico, because they don't have the same type of government influx and monopoly that we have here. So it's very important that we look at how the stock market is dictating how much you pay for healthcare. A lot of folks don't understand. On another note, a lot of folks don't know that Medicare Advantage plans are subsidized by Medicare payments. So Medicare, regular Medicare, is subsidizing operations for Medicare Advantage plans, which are private plans, up to $469 billion. So it is a business. Healthcare is a business, and stocks are being traded for all different types of medical device companies, which you see a boom in. You see the weight reduction drugs. That's a huge boom, as well as the Medicare Advantage stocks are becoming very popular, which ultimately Trump wants to privatize and make that the general Medicare. So that's very important that people understand that Medicare Advantage will cost you more in your taxpayer, because that is the default plan that the Trump administration would like to go forward with.
That's his plan. All right, Bobby.
So overall, as we wrap up our segment, overall, from your perspective, what is most at stake as people go to cast their votes right now in terms of public health?
The Affordable Care Act, that is at stake. You have to understand that at some point you may be subjected or may be a participant of it. And if it's gone, well, it will never fully leave. But the subsidies extended subsidies that give folks of a certain income base, that can go away. That it will make it so you will not be able to afford it. And you might as well just go to Cobra or any other individual plan on your own. So that is truly at stake. Also, drug prices are very important. They are going to continually go up if there is no oversight, if there's no vetting. The Reduction Act allowed, and you've probably heard this, that at least 10 drugs were under scrutiny and were able to get reduced by the Biden and Trump administration. And they were the big drugs like the cancer drugs, diabetes, you name it. So you have to understand that this can all go away if we have the wrong leadership in office.
Amen. 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 Dana McGuire, thank you for educating us. Thank you for joining us tonight, my sister.
You beat the fly. You beat the fly.
The fly is gone. Dana, thank you. We're definitely, you have provided the information that we wanted as we lead into this election 10 days from now. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, please, please, please
vote.
Do what you have to do to vote. Do what you have to do. Dana, we're definitely going to bring you back, but thank you for joining us, and we'll have you come back before we close the show. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dana. Thank you. Well, Bobby.
Very important and informative show, Alvin.
Very important and informative show. Thank you, my brother, for being here tonight for the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby and I will not be here next week because of some things that we're doing, and so we will definitely run a previously aired show. And from tonight, I think this one might be it, because we may not be. Next time we see you, we will have a new president. I think so.
Hopefully, I don't know how long it's going to take them to count all these.
Hopefully, we will have a new president. I don't know about you, but the last time, when Biden won, I was in the mountains because I couldn't take what happened in 2016, getting on a metro after hearing that
other bad news,
that other bad news. Yeah. But we won't be with you next week for a live show, but definitely watch out for us. And our words of the week this week is by none other than one of my favorite presidents, Mr. Joe Biden. Democracy is never guaranteed. Every generation must preserve it, defend it, and fight for it. And those are words by Joe Biden, and they could not be more powerful
Absolutely.
for where we are right now. So thank you. Can we bring Dana back on if she's there? Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, there she is.
Thank you again for joining the show, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you when we're back in a couple of weeks on the new live episode of He Said.
He said.
And Dana said, we said, he said. Okay. We're going to have another He Said. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us. I hope you got something from the show, and we look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Have a great week and a great weekend.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks. Take
Happy
care.
Halloween.
Wow. Lots of information. Thank you so much, Dan.